everyone. Welcome to a quick edition of In the Cordon. Today, we're going to be dissecting the Mitchell Johnson, David Warner saga. And joining us to do that is Reese Williams. Reese, how are you?
Good, thanks, Callum. How are you?
I'm very well, mate. This all started when the Test squad was announced to face Pakistan, and David Warner has been named in the 14-man squad to face Pakistan. But there's been, I suppose, a little bit of controversy about him announcing his retirement date, I suppose 12 months out. And then Mitchell Johnson wrote a pretty scathing column in the Western Australian. And a lot of the points that Mitchell Johnson raises is certainly valid for me. But I think the problem that people have with what he's done is he's gone a little bit personal with his attack, saying Warner's never truly taken responsibility for Sandpaper Gate in South Africa 2018, and why should he be given a hero's farewell? And I've been pretty critical of David Warner in the past. I thought that if he didn't fracture his elbow in that Indian Test series, that he was certainly going to get dropped and probably not play for Australia again. So I think that injury certainly saved his career. He was able to get through the Ashes averaging 28. But Reese, what's your thoughts on the whole David Warner and Mitchell Johnson situation? And did Mitchell Johnson cross a line here?
Yeah, I think you summed it up well there. Like Mitchell Johnson certainly had like valid points in what he was saying, but of how he went so personal in some aspects for probably he probably would come to regret that. I think he has come out and said that he does regret it a little bit. I think that could have definitely have been handled a little bit better. But yeah, I mean some of the points he made about him getting a hero's farewell, like I mean that's fair enough. I mean like you don't. I've never really been a big one of being able to decide when you retire. There's the only guy that could really have decided when he finished up would have been Bradman back in the day. But everybody else, like Test cricket's one of those ones where you have to be performing the whole way through. And I've always been of the view that you pick your best 11 for each game. And if you're not performing, then it doesn't matter if you played 100 tests or 10, you're out. So that's my whole view of the thing. Getting to dictate when you retire is that I'm not a massive fan of that.
Do you think Warner's place in the Test side will come under any scrutiny prior to that Sydney Test match, or do you think he's going to get all the way through the summer?
He'll get through. He'll get the whole way through. I mean, the only way he might not is if he double ducks up in the first test. But if he does anything in the first game, he'll be fine.
Yeah, I'd certainly be in agreement with that. But I suppose one of the other points that we wanted to talk about in this short little video would be George Bailey being a selector. Now, George Bailey was previous Australian captain in T20 and one-day cricket, played 5 test matches for Australia and was part of that team with Mitchell Johnson and David Warner that was able to beat England 5-0 in 2013-14. A lot has been made of George Bailey's close connection to the players and, being somewhat recently retired in terms of 2018 from his Australian duties. So do you think it's right that George Bailey still hangs around the squad? And did you find any offensive comments from George Bailey towards Mitchell Johnson throughout some of his interviews in the press?
I wouldn't say about any offensive comments or anything like that. That's up for them to determine whether they're offended by it, not me. But I think the fact that he is so recently retired, it can be a little bit confused between are you still mates or you're like communicating in a professional manner. Like you could make it a tough decisions or tough conversations a bit harder to have because you're speaking with someone you've played with for a long time, you're good mates with. Whereas if it was someone that had played but a while back further and not so close to the group, it'd be easier to have. So that's probably the only concerns you might have there. But apart from that, I think they should be professional enough to be able to have those discussions. So it's not a massive issue for me compared to what some others might have with the whole George Bailey scenario being chairman of selectors. But in my view, it shouldn't be really that much of an issue.
Yeah, and we'll talk about on our Australian and Pakistan Test series preview about the 3 players who are certainly in the frame to replace David Warner when he does exit the Australian side, whether it's pre the Sydney Test or post the Sydney Test is yet to be determined, obviously. But Marcus Harris, made 49, Cameron Bancroft made 53, and Matty Renshaw made 136 not out. So at the moment, is there anyone who's particularly leading the charge for you?
I still think it's Bancroft. Just the sheer form he's shown the last year and a half. Like you can't go past him. He's made 600s in the last in his last 10, 15 Shield games. Like he's clearly the best option in my opinion.
Yeah,
And
and certainly
it gives him a chance to redeem himself after the whole sandpaper gate issue for him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Matty Renshaw will be the next in line after Cameron Bancroft when Uzi inevitably decides to retire. And Australians will probably be hoping that Uzi can get through to the end of that Indian Test series next summer. Otherwise, it's going to leave a pretty big hole at the top of the order. So, Reece, just wanted to say thanks for jumping on in the cordon again to give us your thoughts on David Warner and Mitchell Johnson. And we'll see you for our Australian and Pakistan Test series preview.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Thanks for tuning into In the Cordon once again. Make sure that you follow us on our social media pages, and we'll see you on our next episode. Cheers.